What's going on, guys? It's Roleplay once again, and today I want to talk about currency in Path of Exile and the recipe system as well. Now that you probably selected your first build to play, you started playing, you selected the character that you want to play, you have the build in mind, and first thing that you basically open your inventory, you come to the first town and you see that there is no gold in Path of Exile. And you must be a bit ashamed on what you will get when you be selling stuff. Like, where is my fucking gold? Well, there is no gold in Path of Exile, and this is one of the most unique features and revolutionary things that Path of Exile invented, to be honest. Instead of gold, they have the so-called recipe system, and a recipe system means if you sell stuff to the vendors, you basically get some items instead of gold. I will just explain it in detail when go over each item, and for easier understanding, each of the important currency items in Path of Exile I call orbs. There are different kind of orbs, and basically when you sell something to the vendors, you get for example shards. Shards transform into full orbs. When the game gathers enough shards, it automatically transforms them into orbs. Orbs can enhance the item, craft the item, reroll the item, and basically interact with any item in the game, being it the item that you equip or the strong boxes, the boxes that you open on the maps, or the maps themselves that you will get in the end game. Anything almost anything can interact with these orbs in Path of Exile. So basically when you start selling, you will be gaining these orbs and shards. For selling magic items, you will get the Orb of Alteration and Alchemy shards, as well as they gather all in Orb of Alteration, like you can see here. There's also specific recipes, and recipe is like, how can I put this easier for you guys? Recipe is like direct way to get specific orbs in Path of Exile. Like for example this, when you sell the 6 socket item to the vendor, you will get 7 jeweler's orbs. Or for example, when you sell the item with 3 different colors of sockets and in the item, you will get the Chromatic Orb. So this is the recipe system in Path of Exile. There are many recipes in Path of Exile, and I'll put the link in the description, so you will have they will have this list for you. You can check it out. It's not really important to remember all of this. It doesn't really matter. Most of the time you just gather all the shit and dump it and get your orbs back. So basically this is it. Let me sell this shit and we'll get to the orbs. This is not the best item. So I dropped these items and I got 2 Orbs of Alteration, 1 Orb of Chromatic Orb, 7 Orbs of Jewelers, because I basically am selling this, and the rest are mostly shards, will jump then transform into full orbs as well. So I'm selling this. Now let's talk about these orbs, guys, and what they do in the game. Basically, these are the orbs and the currency tab that I have in Path of Exile. Let's start with the fragments. Basically, the fragment is the piece that when you sell some white item, you get the scroll fragment. They transform into scrolls of wisdom. Items can be only identified in Path of Exile with scroll of wisdom. There is no deck arcane, so hello deck arcane. It could be very good to have one, but there is nothing like this here. So Scrolls of Wisdom is the only source of identify. Then Portal Scrolls that teleports you to town from anywhere except some really nasty boss encounters. Blacksmith Whetstone. This improves the quality of the weapon, and basically quality of the weapon increases the base weapon damage. And if you plan to use this weapon for a long time, always improve the quality of the weapon to 20%. Quality can be increased from 0 to 20%, guys. Same for armor scrap. Armor scrap improves the quality of an armor, and basically this just increases your defense because it increases the main defenses like the evasion rating, the pure armor, or the energy shield. Glass Blower's Bubble improves the quality of the flask, and quality of the flask basically just increases the duration while the buff lasts of the flask. Gem Cutter's Prism improves the quality of the gem, and it only improves the quality by 1%, and basically the quality of the gem is the same as everything else. It can be increased from 1 to 20, and quality of the skill gem, which we'll talk about skill gems later, the quality of the skill gem basically increases the power of the gem, the damage of the gem, of the area, the effect of the gem, or the duration of the skill gem. So many things. The gems that you use as the main firepower should almost always be increased to quality of 20%. Cartographer's Chisels is improve the quality of the map again from 1 to 20%, and quality of the map increases the amount of drops that you get on the map. Nothing more, guys. This is pretty important item as well. Or the Orb of Transmutation. Now we come to the actual orbs. This Orb of Transmutation is the most common one. It upgrades a normal item to the magic item. Basically, it turns white item into magic items. Mostly, it is used in crafting strong boxes across the map, as well as in end-game crafting as well. The Orb of Alteration rewards a magic item within the new random properties. Basically, what it does, when you have the blue magic item, you can re-roll this with the Orb of Alteration, completely re-rolling the mods on an item. This is also pretty useful when you play with the strong boxes on the maps. The Orb of Annulment is one of the most powerful orbs in the game. That's extremely rare, one of the rarest in the game. This is very tricky item. It was introduced in the Harbinger League, and it removes a random property from an item. An item can have up to from 1 to 8 different mods, so-called properties. And basically what this does is just randomly removes one property. This should be used very wisely, and I don't recommend to use it at all if you're a newbie, or just sell it because it's quite expensive as well, or just keep it up to a time when you can know like where you should use this. This basically can be useful in the very end game crafting when you have like super item with 6 very useful, for example, 6 very useful stats in an item, but one stat is complete shit and you really want to try and remove it. But keep in mind that this orb removes randomly one of the stats, and it can destroy the good ones as well as the bad ones. So this is a very tricky shit. Use it at your own risk. The Orb of Chance upgrades a normal item to random rarity. This is basically your gambling like in Diablo 2. You apply this orb to the white item only, and it can transform into magic, rare, or unique as well. This is one of the trickiest orbs in the game. It's very fun to gamble this shit, and it should be used very wisely because different uniques have different chance to be chanced. Some uniques are much more common than the others, while the rarest are truly rare, and you can dump like hundreds of this Orb of Chance and never get the desired unique from the white base. Exalted Orb is one of the most expensive, if not the most expensive orbs in the game. Basically what it does, it enchants the rare item with a new random property. When you have already the rare item and you want and it's so exceptionally good already, and like there is no basically you cannot even spoil it. So you want the only way to enchant this is to apply the Exalted Orb. Like for example, if an item has already 6 really good properties, 5 really good properties, even 7 good properties. Basically this is where when you apply this Exalted Orb, but this should be done on an extremely powerful items. So Exalted Orb should be applied on an extremely rare, extremely good rare items, basically the end game items only, and applying the Exalted Orb is called slamming, basically in an attempt to get a very useful mod on it as well. The Regal Orb is another orb that is pretty useful but not very not very sought after. It upgrades a magic item to a rare item, and basically you get free mods on a rare item instead of, for example, 4 or 5. But no, even free modded rare items can be very, very useful, and it's one of the best ways to get good jewels for your builds. Like, you roll the magic jewel as you wish, and then you apply the Regal Orb, and there is a chance that you will get something useful as your third stat on an item. The Orb of Alchemy is one of the most usable orb in the game. Basically what it does, it upgrades a normal item to a rare item, and this is mostly being used on the maps. Maps are the endgame system in Path of Exile, and basically applying Orb of Alchemy to the maps is called alching, and you basically the end game things are just get the map, alching, go, and this is how you play the end game most of the time. Now we get to the most interesting things, and this is the Chaos Orb. Reforges a rare item with the new random properties. Chaos Orbs are like a gold in Path of Exile. This is the main currency, and whenever you see some prices on PoE trade or wherever they are, everything is almost entirely being priced in either Chaos Orbs or the Exalted Orbs. And when you get too much Chaos Orbs, people start converting into Exalted Orbs as well. Chaos Orbs is a very tricky orb as well, because it completely reforges the rare item with absolutely randomizing the stats, the mods. It completely rerolls the rare item, and rerolling and crafting with Chaos Orbs is called chaos spamming. Basically you just spam Chaos Orbs on an item until you get lucky and get the desired GG item. This is not I would not recommend this for NEWBIE players as well. Just basically accumulate as much Chaos Orbs as possible, because this is the main source of currency in Path of Exile. Blessed Orb is another cool orb that not many people use, but it can be useful because there are items with implicit properties. Implicit properties is the shit on top. For example, like this underlining in the center, it's called implicit properties, implicit mod, and I have this plus 13 to all attributes. And basically with the Blessed Orb, randomizes the numeric values of the implicit properties of an item, and the range on this is from 10 to 16, as you see on top. And if I apply the Blessed Orb to this amulet, I can get something from 10 to 16 on the implicit mod, and it has 13 now, so it will not really change that much. It is not that important, but there are implicit mods that can be rerolled into good. For example, the gloves with the spike gloves with the melee damage can be very useful to be rerolled with the Blessed Orbs. Another orb is one of the best, and it's very rare and expensive as well, almost as the Exalted Orb, is the Divine Orb. This randomizes the numeric values of the random properties of an item. This is very useful to be to reroll unique items, because the range of the mods on some unique items can be truly vast, truly large. And there are items like the Ventur's Gamble Ring, for example, which can roll with the minus properties like minus resists from minus to plus, and Divine Orb can be used to reroll the whole range of numerical range on the item without changing the actual mods. So basically this is like Chaos Orbs, except it rerolls the numbers. It doesn't reroll the mods. It keeps the mods but rerolls the numbers. And numbers can roll from the lowest to highest as well, so keep this in mind. Divine Orb should be used wisely, and most likely you will not even use this and just sell it because it's quite expensive. Everything else is mostly shards, which, like I said, gather themselves into these orbs above. Let's talk about other orbs. Val Orb is a very tricky and very cool orb because it corrupts an item, modifying it unpredictably. Corrupting item is a very interesting feature, and I think I would discuss it in a separate video because, you know, corrupting is like a whole nother story. All I can say is corrupting is vastly used in the endgame crafting to get the absolutely amazing items out of shit items, and ridiculous item from the amazing items as well as Val Orbs is greatly used in the endgame mapping, because to get the map bonus in the highest tier of the red maps, you need to defeat the bosses of the rare corrupted maps, and this is where Val Orb is used. It becomes very sought after a certain amount when the league starts, and people start corrupting their maps. It's about like a week and 2 weeks. This is where Val Orb even becomes more expensive than the Chaos Orb sometimes. It's a very useful Val Orb, and it's much more rarer than the Chaos Orbs as well. Another orb that is pretty cool is the Orb of Regret. It grants a passive skill point refund. So basically when you right click on this, you get the passive refund there, and you can respec your passive tree. This is it. It's very useful when you for example, played the build, you didn't like how it goes, you want to respec the tree and you need a lot of refund points. This is where we start spending the Orbs of Regret. The Orbs of Scoring is another quite useful orb. It removes all properties from an item. The only thing that it can remove is the corruption, because corrupted item cannot be altered outside of Vorici, the master in Path of Exile. So basically Orb of Scoring can get with Orb of Scoring you can get white item from the rare item, white item from the magic item. Basically it turns everything into absolutely blank white normal item. This is why it's used. It is mostly used to revert the good bases, the good crafting bases in the endgame crafting. For example, when you have a really high level item base like item level 84, and I'll explain what is item level later. Basically when you have the very good crafting item base and you keep crafting it and it doesn't work, so you have to score the item. It's called scoring. You score the item back and just craft it once again and again and again. It's also used in chancing when you have one item that you want to chance. For example, you're chancing some unique belt. You keep on applying the Orb of Chance. The item gets rare, and you keep on scoring it over, then applying the Orb of Chance again and again and again. That's all it before until you get the unique item or desired item. That's about it. Scoring is also very useful for mapping, because when you roll maps in the end game and you get some really bad mods like a lot of damage, or the boss damage becomes really problematical to finish the map. You understand this. That's why you can score the map and start it over with the Orb of Alchemy. You get the rare map again, you watch it again. It's good, then you go, it's bad, then you score it over and start over again. Sextants are not really the orbs, they are for manipulating the Atlas. And I will explain the sextants much later on, guys, but all I can say for now, the sextants are pretty useful because they greatly increase the quantity on maps, the quantity of monsters on the map that can affect the maps in a good and a bad way, and basically they change your endgame experience as well. Another orb that I want to talk about is a Chromatic Orb. This reforges the colors of sockets on an item. There are three main colors of sockets in an item, the green, blue, and red, and basically what it does, it completely re-rolls the colors of sockets in an item. I'll explain what sockets and the colors are later on. The Orb of Fusing is one of the most sought after as well, and usually people just gather these in huge amounts, like hundreds and even thousands, and try to get the maximum amount of links on the item. Reforges the links between sockets and an item, and basically I will explain linking and sockets later, but you need to know that the more links you have, the more kind of firepower your main damage dealer gathers. So it is very important to get the maximum amount of links sometimes. For example, on the chest piece, for example, 6 linking is very, very important. And there is a very small chance that you get 6 links. Most likely it will be like from 3 to 5 links on an item. It's completely random. So 6 linking an item is what people are going for, and it can take from 1 to 1,000 of Orbs of Fusing. That's why you can use this wisely only on the chest or the weapon that you really want to use. Okay, the Jeweler's Orb reforges the number of sockets in an item. Like I said, sockets are very important because in the sockets you insert your skill gems. I will talk about the skill gems later on. But basically, the Jeweler's Orb reforges the number of sockets in an item, and it depends on the item level of an item as well. This is pretty good, but it's always like gathers in big numbers because it's quite easy to get 6 sockets, and 3 to 4 sockets is very easy, super easy as well. But 6 sockets can take some hundreds of jeweler results to get, depending on your luck. I'm always unlucky, so it takes hundreds for me sometimes. But you know, usually you just switch this with the Orbs of Fusing and the vendor, and that's about it. The rest of the orbs are not really that important because, you know, they are mostly the league specific orbs, so you will not get these ones so easily. Another thing that I want to talk about, guys, is you can exchange one type of orbs into the other, into different ones from the vendors scattered across the game. So you will not really sit with like 10,000 of something once and like with 10 of the other. This is not Diablo 3, guys. Everything, almost everything is exchangeable here, and this is a very good aspect of the game. So you can just, if you have a lot of jewels, you can all spend it to get your Orbs of Fusings. And if you have something else, you can transform it into something else. And if you don't really want to trade with the vendors, you can always trade with the players, because someone can have something that he doesn't need and he will need your orbs, for example. This is why all of these are very tradable and exchangeable. Now this is it, guys, for the currency and the orb system. And another cool thing in the Path of Exile is this: everything, like I said, can interact with these orbs. You can reforge and craft items like this, like the items that you equip, as well as the endgame maps, as well as the strong boxes, and pretty much everything that can interact with the orbs in the game. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.